Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This is taken from another normal game, and we're going to do something a little bit different in this game. Typically, I try to show games where particular team compositions came together well, when things basically were going well, and I was able to fit the pieces together in the way that I wanted. This game is going to be the opposite. This is going to be a game where I'm trying to salvage a bad game. In other words, where things didn't go together very well, and in fact, a game where I'm not hitting the units I want to hit, and I'm kind of desperately trying to fit the pieces together and avoid a total disaster. So I think it's valuable to show this some of the time. Again, usually I think it's useful to show games where like, hey, I played this particular strategy and it worked out, and like here's how it worked out correctly. But I do think it's also useful to show games where things didn't work out correctly, and that's kind of what we're going to be seeing in this game. All right, so as I said, this is a normal game. I'm using one of the new backgrounds from set 6.5. This one I think is okay. I don't love this background, but I think it's fine. I'll probably use it occasionally. It's nice to have additional backgrounds. I don't love all of the stuff that you get in the pass, but if you do play enough games to unlock everything in the seasonal passes, it's probably worth the $10 that you end up getting. Oh, by the way, the pings are because someone apparently hit a 2-star Zillion. They like got 3 2-cost champions, and all 3 of them were Zillions. So they just instantly combined together into a 2-star Zillion, which is really quite odd. I guess it's possible. It's just very, very, very unlikely that you're going to get a Zillion, and a Zillion. So yeah. Okay, so what are we seeing here? All right, so different options here. Chemical overload, not going to be useful because I don't have any chem techs currently on my board. Weak spot, always useful. Scrap heart. Scrap heart, not bad either. Scrap heart would not even be bad in this situation because I have a Ziggs and a Darius, so that would make scrap plus bodyguard. But I decided that weak spot, which is kind of the more generic choice, would just be in general a good augment to have. As far as the items, looks like I'm going into some kind of AD comp because I have a sword and a bow. And I thought, well, that is a Giant Slayer at the very least. That's going to be an item that has good value throughout the game, so I can probably just make use of that. And then I have a Chain Vest, which can go on a frontliner. So far, so good. I wouldn't say I've gotten quite all of the units that I'm looking for from this perspective. I kind of have a Darius who would play into like a Syndicate comp. I'd love to see like an Ashe and a Morgana or something like that. I'm going to get the Nico start, which means a little bit less gold. I don't love the Nico start. I said before I think it's a little bit weaker, but we'll do our best to play through it. And yeah, so here I'm going to find a Poppy, and I'm like, well, I have an okay front line. I have a Darius and a Poppy, so I guess I'll just toss a Chain Vest on Darius here. But I don't really have a unit to play through in terms of carry damage. I have a Ziggs and a Brand, and like that's not really what I want because those are spellcasters, and I have basically AD items here. So I was like, not sure what I'll do. I guess I'll hold these items on the bench for right now. But this is not quite what I'm looking for, and my board is all 1-stars as well. I do have Weak Spot, which is nice. That's going to provide some armor shred and is going to provide the anti-healing, which will be useful against some of these team comps. But again, part of the issue with that is my items have led me towards an AD team comp, but I haven't really found units that particularly play well through AD. You're also seeing why Ziggs is such a terrible unit right there. He tosses his bomb and hits absolutely nothing because the other enemy units walk forward. The good news is this person was only playing 3 units because they had Cho in, and I was able to kill one of them, so I only take 4 damage, so that could have been a lot worse there. All right, I'm hoping for more here, and this is a much better round here, so I'm going to find a Morgana. I'm also going to hit 2-star Ziggs, and I'm going to find a Blitz, so that's going to allow me to play Scrap plus Bodyguard. And I randomly made a 2-star Zig, so I was like, all right, here's the plan now. Now I have direction for this game. We're going to play into Syndicates because I found the early Morgana. So that means all I need to do is find a Zyra or an Ashe, and then I'll be able to play 3 Syndicate. I've got the Bodyguard here, and I can have Ziggs, I guess, hold items for the time being. He's not the unit I want, but he's going to get sold pretty quickly, so I'll just put the sword on him. He'll roll some kind of scrap item. He is my only 2-star unit. So this should be okay for the early game. Now I just cross my fingers, hope that Ashe pops out, and we're off and rolling with Syndicates. So the goal here now, the most important unit for me to find is an Ashe. Ash, again, can hold AD items really well. People also like rolling for Ash 3-star in this particular patch. Uh, she's a little bit overtuned, so not bad at all to have Ash 3-star. So, I could either, if I hit a lot of Ashes, I could look to go for Ash 3-star, or I could alternately look to just have her hold items for a later unit. Most likely that would be Jhin, because Jhin plays well into this team composition, but it could also just be some random legendary unit if you get like a 1% Jinx or something like that. Or it could be Zeri, if you hit Zeri early and you put Jhin in for snipers or something like that. All right, so anyway, lost the first 2 rounds. The good news is they were not bad losses. They were relatively close. And I'm going to shift over to the right-hand side because I saw that there were more assassins on the left. And aha, this is one of the comps I was switching away from. Note that there is a Twitch that jumps right where my Ziggs would have been standing, but does not stand because I shifted it over to the right. And we're also going to get the pull on the Corki. And so again, even though this board is probably stronger than what I have, looks like we're probably going to be able to win this. The Bloodthirster that Ziggs rolled is actually doing work because he's lifestealing off his auto attacks. Does not lifesteal off his bombs, of course, but will lifesteal off his autos, and he did get the Bloodthirster shield. So this slap fight's going on for quite a while, but it looks like we do win this. And then I will pre-level to level 5 because I'm hoping to find Ashe, and I have better odds to find Ashe at a higher level. Alright, so we've got a carousel here. On this carousel, let's see, what would I be looking for right now? I probably want another AD item that I can roll a scrap item on. So there is, what is it, a bow here. So I was like, all right, we'll take the bow. That allows me to make Giant Slayer with the bow that I have right now and then roll a scrap item bow. So really would like to, again, still find Ashe, or alternately, I guess I could maybe look to find like an Ezreal just for the time being because Ezreal uses AD items a lot better than Ziggs does. Or I guess technically I could even play through the Lucian, although these are not great Lucian items either. I've also randomly made a 2-star Kassadin, so I'm going to look to... Ooh, and that's a mistake there. Yeah, I think that was one of the big mistakes I made in this game was I could have played that Cass. I should have held that Kassadin because Kassadin gives me Scholar trait, and he's also a decent frontliner for the early game. So he should have been the next unit in at level 6. Again, my front line's a little weak right now. So yeah, I made the 2-star Kassadin randomly and just sold that. I think I'm still getting used to the fact that Kassadin is now a Scholar in set 6.5. No longer a Protector as in set 6. But that is a unit I should have held on to. It would not have cost a lot of money to do so. And he would have been the next unit in, presumably, as I just said. So keep that in mind, but that was probably a mistake long term because that is a unit I should have been looking to play both for frontline and for Scholar trait. Anyway, the good news is we do have Syndicate trait in now. Syndicate 3 tends not to be too great. Syndicate 3 is not an amazing early game trait. Here, Ziggs actually does come through in the clutch. He's going to manage to kill that Gangplank, but if you're looking at this other person that we're up against, they are playing Mercenaries, and I don't think they're going to be too sad about playing Mercenaries, having a close loss, and having Gangplank farm 2 gold for them. So that's a pretty good result for them. Here, I also have a decision to make. I see that there's an Ezreal here, and I was like, do I want to play Ezreal over the Ziggs? I was like, I think I do, because, again, Ezreal uses AD items much, much better than Ziggs. Ziggs really doesn't use AD items particularly well, so I'm going to make that swap. It's a little late to be grabbing Ezreal, but maybe I get lucky and find 2 more Ezreals. He is going to give me Scrap trait. I'm looking here at the replay, and I'm seeing that there is a GP on the bench, so in theory, maybe I could have played Gangplank and had him hold these items, but I really was thinking that, Ezreal's not going to hold these items for very long, because all I need to do is just find 1 Ashe, and then I can have Ashe hold these items, and I'll be in a much better situation, since Ashe is a Syndicate unit, and, she's a strong unit in this patch anyway. Here's another board that looks pretty strong. I'm hoping that with Ezreal rolling the Static Shiv, we're going to have enough damage to finish this off. The good news is I did shift some tanks into the back lines to help absorb those assassins. And can Ezreal manage to get this? Yes. So Ez rolling the Static Shiv comes out beautifully in that round. And I have won another round that I probably shouldn't have won, but was able to do so, even against the Talon 2-star, in part because I had good positioning. So we've also now got Gnar here, and Gnar is also a possibility of a unit that I could have played. I could have put these items on Gnar as well, but again, I'm just thinking, hey, I'm not going to run Ezreal for very long. Obviously, I'm going to find Ashe pretty quickly here, so I don't need to worry about other item holders. But yeah, Nar, another decent item holder for AD items. Not amazing, but decent enough. He's also tanky enough that he can be played on the Spotlight, even if it's in kind of a forward spot, which it is in this game. Spotlight's kind of like dead center of the board, more or less, in like the second row. So that also another option. But remember, it does cost money to hold units like Nar on the bench. So if I pick up those two Nars, I probably drop under 20 gold. I think I would have been exactly at 20 gold, and that's not quite what I'm looking for either. Again, I've been slightly behind the ball on the econ side of things because I got that Nico start. Nico's help always puts you a little bit behind in terms of econ. Still, I think I've been doing a reasonably good job of what I've been finding thus far. I have won the last couple rounds after losing. Was it? I lost the first two and then won the last three. That is again really good because I did not get as much gold on this start as I would have otherwise, so I kind of need to win streak. I found the 2-star Darius, and that's going to be great for the time being. It will get outscaled, so hopefully I'll be able to find some more Morganas and find some more of the Syndicate units, because I've decided I'm going to be playing into Syndicate in this game. Unfortunately, here's someone who's contesting me on Syndicate units. They have a 2-star Zyra. They have managed to find an Ashe. Actually, two. They have another Ashe on their bench. And unfortunately, the other team, Zyra, is getting off some really nice ults. So I'm hoping I can kill this Zyra before she ults again. And oh, nope, not quite. So this does not look like it's going the way we want. And in fact, they have a much better built Syndicate comp at the moment. They have an Ashe, they have a Senna, who's another unit that plays really well into this team composition. And even though we pulled the Zyra, she was 2-starred. Ezreal had a Hurricane, which wasn't terribly useful in this fight. Just couldn't kill the Zyra fast enough, and then her abilities just popped my backline really quickly. All right, you see me picking up the Misfortune. Again, this is because I'm hoping on finding Ashe. As soon as I find Ashe, I'm going to take the items off Ezreal and look to put them on onto Ashe, and then I could toss in Misfortune, and that would make Sniper trait for a little bit of extra damage. So that is the hope, and still haven't found Ashe, but it's not like there's a lobby full of Syndicate players here. I think there's one other person playing Syndicate. Unfortunately, this person I'm scouting right now has found an Innovator emblem, so that's a little bit scary. Generally considered to be just pretty much the best thing that you can pull out of the Tome of Traits is the Innovator emblem. Has allowed them to get to Innovator 5 even at only level 6, which is really nice. This is a fight that I'm hoping to win just off of having Blitzcrank hook a good target. And the Zyra on the other... Oh no, my Zyra missed her ultimate. I thought that was a Zyra on the other team, but no. So my Zyra goes ahead and whiffs her ultimate. But remember, I do have weak spot, so that cuts into the healing on this board. And Ezreal's also rolled a Last Whisper, so that allows us to get through the Cho. And it looks like we have enough to finish off this Ahri. So I will take it. I am happy to take any wins with my fairly scuffed board here. All right, so we've got a couple different options here. Electrocharge, again, good for the early game, falls off in the late game. And the other one, I think I actually missed what that one was here on the recording because I clicked pretty fast during the actual game. Anyway, I decided I'd pick Pandora's items. I always like this one. I think it's one of the better options you can take at the silver tier because it allows you to make perfect items, ideally, or close to perfect items. You can get kind of best in slot items. And it also does give you a component, which is not bad either. So it's not amazing. Like I said, it's a silver augment, but I think it was better than taking Electrocharge, which as already mentioned is good for the first augment, a lot worse for the second augment, bad for the third augment. It's flat damage and falls off, and then I can't remember what the third one was. Apologies. So I'm just doing some scouting, looking at what other people have picked here. Note that I have somewhat sheepishly picked up a Kassadin, after selling the 2-star Kassadin before because he is probably the next unit in. Now, of course, I could level to 6 here and look to play for Scholar Trait, but I'm not on a win streak at this point. I don't really have another strong unit to put in, so I decided I would just stay at level 5 and try to focus more on Econ. This board here has taken Makeshift Armor, so now we have to cut through armor on all these units because they're all unitemized except for the Corki, so Makeshift Armor actually helping this board a lot. And the real question is, do we have enough damage to just cut through this team before they get through mine? And I don't think that we do. Ezreal just, 1-star Ezreal just does not do enough damage to kill this team before it manages to punch through us. So I'm going to end up losing, and it's kind of a bad loss because we only killed one unit. Not a great outcome there. And you can really see how the Ezreal is just falling off pretty substantially at this point. Unfortunately, I'm also late enough a pick here that I'm third pick here on the carousel. I actually have enough health bank that I don't even get an early pick, which is a little bit concerning given that I'm not really finding the units that I'm looking for. Like the Jhin might have been decent just to take a Jhin, but that does not end up materializing. So for the time being, I go ahead and take the Oriana. I can always look to play Oriana. She is a unit that plays into this team comp, and a sword is not bad. Remember, I do have Pandora's item, so I can also just sell this and have it roll into something else if I want. That's also a possibility. So I'm going to pick up the Darius, so I have an extra Darius. I also find the Senna, and I was like, I think that I would do better to just play Senna here. So I'm going to look to try to do that. So I'm going to look to make Giant Slayer for sure. And then I could also potentially make a Deathblade here. That is something that I could look to do, maybe. Or I can just have these items sit on my bench, but I also kind of don't want these items to transform, so I think that I end up just stashing one of these on my bench. I really do want to get a Last Whisper for armor shred purposes, so I think I end up making the Deathblade and then stashing the bow on my bench. All right, so now I've decided that, Ezreal's not going to cut it anymore. So let's have Senna try to hold these items. She is a pretty decent AD item holder, particularly in Enchanter comps where her shielding and healing is increased. Because Syndicates is going to play naturally into Enchanter, you are going to get one rank of Enchanter from Morgana, and then you get the second rank from her. So she's a decent person to play. The problem for Senna is you generally want to play her on the Socialite Spotlight. Is kind of where you want her to be. And with the Socialite Spotlight being dead center of the board, I really can't play her on that tile. So just can't really play her in that particular spot. Also, of course, I am running her on... I'm running her as a 1-star unit, and by this point in time in the game, you really would like to have her as a 2-star unit or something close to that. I'm getting to the point where my not hitting is starting to become a problem. Like, I do not have any Ashes. I still have 1-star Zyra. In fact, I only have one Zyra. I don't even have 2 of them yet. I have Darius 2-star, but I don't even have Blitz 2-star, and I have this 1-star Kassadin because I found 0 other scholars in this game. Well, I guess technically I had the 2-star Kassadin before, and that's again why selling him was such a big mistake in this game. I definitely needed to hold on to that unit. As you see my board just getting obliterated by VIP Talon here. It's not even close. I just get annihilated. But I have found 1 Zyra. I have found 0 Syndras. I found 0 Renatas. I'm not finding any other scholars. I haven't found a Jhin yet. I haven't found an Oriana yet. I haven't found any Ashes, which is really the crux of the problem in this comp. You're supposed to be playing through Ashe at this stage of the game in your Syndicates comp. I should really already have Ashe 2-star. And the fact that I found only 1 Morgana is also a problem. Remember, I got a Morgana very early in stage 2, but I've seen no more Morganas at this point. So I believe at this point I was like, I'm kind of dying here. I'm on 49 HP. I'm just getting rocked by some of these other comps. I need to roll on 7 to try to stabilize my board because otherwise I'm just going to be out of this game and it's not going to be pretty. So I believe that that's the next step I take here is just to realize, hey, I am not strong enough. I need to get more. I need to stabilize here. And so this is what you need to do if you're losing in a game like this. So let's go to level 7. There we go, and now we need to roll and see what we hit. So there is Aurelia. That's a potential option. She would give me scrap. I wouldn't mind putting items on her. The Spotlight's not in a terrible spot for that either. But I hit 2-star Senna, and I was like, all right, I think with 2-star Senna, I will be stable enough here. And I don't want to roll too much gold. So I'm going to go ahead, play the Ori. That's going to give me 3 Enchanter. I'm going to move out of the Aurelias because I didn't end up hitting that. And we'll look to play here because with 3 Enchanter because I did manage to hit the 2-star Senna. So I'm going to try to do my best with this. Again, these are not the most perfect items for Senna. Ideally, you often like to build her with crit items. Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and then, Rage Blade tends to be pretty good on her, so she ramps throughout the fight. But, these aren't bad. Giant Slayer, Deathblade, and then a bow that's going to hopefully build into Last Whisper. Remember, I do have Pandora's items, so I can roll and hope that I get a glove. So, these are not bad items, and you see that round went a lot better than the previous one. That's a person who I think is playing Mercenaries and trying to cash out, so maybe I get a little bit lucky there in that sense. I've actually got another sword here, but I don't need double. I don't need double Giant Slayers. One of them is plenty. I'm just hoping I can get a glove. I have not seen any gloves in the game so far yet. All right, so again, remember I had to roll on 7 to stabilize. It was 100% the correct decision to roll on 7. If I didn't roll on 7, I just would have gotten knocked out of the game. I'd be taking 15 damage per round right now, and I'd be, out of the game by probably the stage 4 carousel. I don't want to be rolling on level 8 on 10 life. That is a recipe to go 8th or 7th or 8th place. So I had to roll there, had to stabilize, but now the trade-off is I will not be able to go level 8 until the end of stage 4. So this is why you generally don't want to roll on 7 unless you have to, because again, it does delay your access of getting to level 8 where you have good odds to find the 4 and 5 cost units. But sometimes you don't have a choice, and this is a game where we don't have a choice, and this is a game where I'm just getting absolutely crushed again. Even with me rolling, this game goes poorly. But, you know, Senna was fine. Senna was not the problem. She does 4,000 damage. The problem is everything else on my board. I mean, I have... there I finally do get the glove so that I can make less whisper. But again, like, look at what else I have here on my board. I'm actually going to hold that giant smoke because I'd like it to be either a Morello's or another frontline item, like maybe a maybe a Warmogs or a Morello's is kind of what I'm thinking. But I mean, like, look at the rest of my board. The rest of my board is very, very weak right now. 1-star Morgana, 1-star Kassadin, 1-star Zyra, 1-star Orianna. Like, my whole board is 1-stars aside from Senna, Darius, and I guess Blitz, who is not super important to this team comp. Like, my board is just not strong enough to provide room for Senna to sit here and tank. And of course, the Spotlight is also not in a position where Senna is able to use it. I mean, we're still competitive in these rounds. Like, I'm not just getting destroyed. A lot of these rounds are very close. But like, you can see how if I just had stronger frontline, then I'd be winning these fights, and I just don't. But I really can't afford to roll more here because I've already rolled so much. I'm just like, I'm both in a position where my board is not strong enough, and I'm also in a position where I am not strong economically either. So I'm really in a bad spot right now. I guess I do get to pick early on, so I was like, where are the Syndicate units on this board? There's like no Syndicate units at all. I was like, all the stuff I wanted to play is not here. So I think I end up taking the Swain so that I can maybe make a Warmogs for a frontliner. Also, I probably should have taken the Kai'Sa there, both to deny people Kai'Sa, and I also could have made Morello's off of that. So in retrospect, probably should have taken the 5 gold rod and made Morello's on like Morgana. Then again, I do have weak spots, so I don't have as much of a need for anti-heal on this comp. So I don't know. Warmog's also a good frontliner item. So on the plus side, I managed to find another Darius, so that's not the worst thing. And I'm just going to go to level 8 and pray that I can find something. So there's another Morgana. Okay, that's good. I have very, very little gold to roll with, of course, because I went to 8 on such low gold. So I'm going to toss in the Vi, and I'm like, this is not really what I'm looking for. I guess there's a Renata, so I guess I can look to play that. I was like, do I lock for Renata? I really don't want to do so. I'm hoping that I can win this round and just buy this unit because Renata has to be better than a 1-star Kassadin at this stage of the game. Like, has to be better. At least I did manage to get that Warmogs, though, so that's a plus. But I'm, like, really, really hoping I can win this round. Come on, Senna. She gets knocked low. There's a Sunfire cutting into her healing. She got mono-reaved by Kassadin, and oh, man. That's unfortunate. So, no, we are not going to win this round. This is not going to be a win. And I don't know if I can lock for that, so I'm going to have to sell the Zyra if I want to pick up that unit. So look at where we are. We're 14 HP on a long losing streak. I was like, oh boy. This game is not it, you guys. This game is not it. So we're going to just desperately try to stabilize here. There's another Renata. So I was like, all right, I want that Renata, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to sell the Darius and move my items over to Morgana. She's a better holder of the items. So we'll put these on Morg. We can put her on the Spotlight. I just have this random buy-in for a little bit of extra frontline. And I'm just hoping that I can hold this, hold for a little bit longer here and try to put something together. Like, I have a Nico's help on my board, but what am I going to Nico here? Am I going to Nico Morgana for 2-star Morgana? I think I can do better than that. I'm hoping I can do better than that. So it's like, just cross my fingers, pray that we can survive this round, make it to the minion round, be able to roll a little bit more. Like, there's someone on 96 HP in the lobby, and all I can really do is just, like, watch these other boards and hope that I can try to position well enough to avoid getting knocked out here. So this is going to be me desperately trying to position in these rounds in the hopes that I can survive. And I'm going to position over on left-hand side, which I do think is better for this board. Thankfully, we do have weak spot to cut into the healing on this team. Remember, this team has underdogs, so they're going to be healing whenever they have fewer units than me, which is going to be most of the time because they're playing double Colossus units. And they also have mutants. And I think that there's... Oh, they have a Gunblade over there on Maul. So that's the other reason why they've got a lot of healing. Morg, though. Morg with 3 enchanters. Pretty tanky. She kind of stands there and just tanks that entire team. And then Senna does 7,000 damage. So again, Senna has not been the problem in this comp. Senna's been perfectly fine. The problem has been putting the rest of the team comp around Senna so that she can survive and do her damage thing. All right, so first goal accomplished. We've managed to survive to the minion round, to the end of stage 4. I guess I should also mention that I took Disintegrator for my last augment there, which I don't think is amazing. It's your attacks do like a percentage of the target's max HP as magic damage. I think that's fine. It's not terrible or anything, but I don't think it's particularly amazing. So, you know, it is what it is. I thought it was the best I could do. All right, now here's where I get some good luck. I finally find Braum, so we can get the stupid Vi out of our comp and put Braum in. And I finally find an Ashe as well, so now we can actually get into 5 Syndicate, and that's going to be really big. So again, you don't want to be hitting Syndicate this late in the game. You really want to find Syndicate earlier, and so now I'm going to try to itemize some of these other units. I see that I can make a Shroud of Stillness, which is going to be super key here. And then I'm also going to find a Jhin. So I was like, all right, that's a possibility as well. I would love to move from Senna into Jhin. That would be really nice if I could do that, because I have very good Jhin items. And now I've got this leftover sword on my bench, which could be a Spear of Shojin for Renata. I thought that that was one possibility. But I decided to hold and see what else I could get, because I think I was trying to make a blue buff for Renata if she's going to be in this comp, because she does use blue really well. I am up against the person playing Mercenaries. They were trying to cash out. They were not able to cash out, and so they quit the lobby. By the way, that person was in the same game I put up on YouTube earlier. And then here I put this item on Jhin because I wanted to keep the sword. So I'm going to hold the sword on Jhin so that that doesn't transform. And then look at this. I end up getting a glove. So I was like, oh, Infinity Edge. So Jhin, we can make perfect Jhin items. Infinity Edge plus Last Whisper plus... the Deathblade, that's not going to give him a ton of attack speed, but he's going to hit like a truck. And then I have a Giant Slayer. So this does strand Renata with like a leftover tier, but Renata is not as important of a unit in this comp as Jhin. And so then I'm going to roll, and then I see that I've got this Nico, and I was like, all right, 2-star Jhin. Now I'm just praying that there's not an assassin that's going to jump on top of Jhin. But at the last second, we managed to get this to come together. And look at that Shroud on the Morgana. Going to shroud the center of that team and get tremendous value. So now I've kind of made my board. Like, this is now a playable board. This is not like a joke the way it was before. I've got 2-star Jhin, I've got 2-star Morgana, I've got a Renata that's feeding in a little bit of extra damage and debuffing the attack speed of the enemy team. So now my board is actually pretty good. Like, this is a board that can actually win rounds, as opposed to the scramble drill that I was doing before. Note that I have found one Ashe the entire game. One Ashe, which I then just went ahead, which I do have on my board right now, but I found one Ashe, and I'm on 5-2. It's just literally crazy how I have not hit Ashe this game. That is some pretty bad luck. Not gonna lie, that's pretty bad. So what is our board? 5 Syndicate, 2 Sniper, 2 Clockwork, 2 Enchanter, 2 Bodyguard. And then we hit Renata 2-star, and that's also a pretty big hit. But I'm out of gold. I'm not going to be able to roll much more. So the goal right now is, how do we position to try to win some of these rounds? I'm watching these comps. So the big thing is I have to position Jhin safely in each round, and then also station Morgana, so the Shroud is going to get maximum value. And I saw for this round, it was going to be on the left-hand side. So I end up hitting this other Syndicate comp, and look at that Shroud value. Woo! We hit almost the entire team. We hit, I think, 4 or 5 of the units that they've got over there. Jhin is perfectly positioned to shoot through the enemy team. I mean, he's going to drop low here from that Zyra ult, so we got to win quickly. But the good news is he's going to cut through the whole enemy team. He only gets off 1 ult, but that ult, again, hits like a dump truck, and he tears right through the enemy team. And so we're going to be able to win this round. So now I'm on a winning streak, and someone else has gotten knocked out of the game. So it's like, all right, we're climbing. We're not going to be 8th. We're not going to be 7th. We got another shot here. So I have fast carousel priority, and there are a couple different options here. I was looking at what options I could play. I end up going for the Chalice, which I do not think is a bad choice, but I think there were better choices. I should have either taken the Orianna, because Orianna would have just made Orianna 2-star and given me another Shroud, which would not be bad. Between 2 Shrouds, I could pretty much shroud the entire board. But I think the even better choice would have been to take the Trap Claw, because Trap Claw would have made 2-star Zyra and given me a Trap Claw for Jhin. Like, if you watch that last fight, the Zyra ult from the enemy team hit Jhin and took out like half his life bar. If I had a Trap Claw on him, that wouldn't happen, and he also would have been protected from CC, from crowd control. So that was a mistake, I think. It's not like the Chalice is a bad item, but I could have made 2-star Zyra and also picked up a Trap Claw for Jhin, which would be much more valuable than that Chalice. Again, not a bad item that I got, but I think I could have made a better one. So once again, I'm watching these other comps, and I was trying to position for left-hand side. This is one of the comps I was positioning for. The key thing here is getting the Shroud on that Kai'Sa. I want Kai'Sa to be slow to ramp up in the fight. Kai'Sa has very high mana costs, so the goal is make it so she does not really get to play the game. She first gets Shrouded, and then Braum's ultimate just barely tags her, so she gets one ult off, and before she can get her second ult off, she's dead. So that's really, really good for us. Another fight where we've been able to position correctly, and we're able to keep the main carry of the enemy team out of the fight. Fortunately, it was also a 1-star Kai'Sa. But, you know, I don't want them to get 2-star Kai'Sa, so I'm glad that we were able to put a hit on them and stop them from, preserving health and maybe getting towards a 2-star version of that unit. All right, so I end up finding a Jace here. I would love to play this Jace, by the way. If I could get Jace in the comp and put him in the backlines, that would also be fantastic, but I don't know how I get to level 9 from this position. Just going to have to cross my fingers and pray. So here, there's a couple different comps I could hit. I'm just praying I'm not going to be up against the team composition that has that Talon. So I'm just going to gamble that I'm not up against the Mutant comp that has a Shroud on the left-hand side. It turns out I'm not up against that comp, and my Shroud is perfectly positioned. So there is some RNG luck to this. There's 3 comps that you can hit. One of them was a Mutant comp that had a Shroud pointed at the left. I just was gambling that I would not hit that because I had to position away from the VIP Talon comp. If I'm on right-hand side and VIP Talon jumps on my Jhin, I'm just dead, and I take 15 damage and I'm out of the game. One loss probably eliminates me, so I just gambled that I would not hit that comp and that I would not hit the Mutant comp that had the Shroud, and fortunately it works out. I hit the Yordle comp, and I'm able to eliminate the Yordle player. And again, we're climbing here. We're climbing. We can't do worse than 5th place now. And now we can't do worse than 4th. So it's a top 4. And that means that this game has been a major success based on the position that I was in earlier. Also, why is there a Poppy there? What the? Why is there a Poppy over on the other team's bench? What is going on there? That's rather strange. Oh, well. So we're going to get an item here. Looks like it's a Bramble Vest. Technically, I can leave this on my bench if I wanted to transform into something else via Pandora's items. I actually don't mind having the Bramble Vest. It wouldn't be bad on like Braum or something. I could use a frontline item on Braum, but I believe I forget to put it on Braum, and it gets transformed via Pandora's items before I even remember that that's going to happen. This still catches me off guard sometimes, the way the Pandora's items can transform your stuff. So yeah, I wasn't expecting this, but it turns into Morelos, and that's actually really good because I have a great Morelos supplier in Renata. So I was like, oh, that's probably a little bit better. Renata's not really doing damage. Her thing is just applying poison because it's an attack speed debuff, damage over time, and now we'll also apply Morelos. Again, we have weak spots, so we don't need that as badly, but we can definitely get good use out of Morelos. Okay, so we know who we're going to be up against. We're 100% guaranteed to hit this comp. It's the other Syndicate comp, so I want to switch to right-hand side, so Jhin gets maximum sniper value. And then we're going to reposition the Shroud, and oh, look at this Shroud of Stillness. We're going to get the whole team. Everything except the Morgana and the Misfortune. So that Shroud just ruins them. Oh boy, they should have been paying attention. So we get the Shroud, we get the Braum ult into the Ori ult, and we have just torn through this team's board. And so that is another round 1, and we're going to knock them down to 6 HP. So again, remember, if I lose one round, I'm probably out of the game here. But I'm just walking that tightrope. It's like round after round after round. I have to keep positioning. So here's the good news. Once again, I'm not up against the VIP Talon. Right now, I'm like, all right, can I get to level 9? If I can get to level 9, I can play Jace and be even stronger. So we know who we're going to be up against. We're guaranteed to be up against this player, Tekken Juggernaut. It's the Mutant player that we've seen before. I have been very lucky in dodging the VIP Talon, who I think is the worst matchup for my comp. But once again, we're going to dodge that player again. And what do I want to do here? Well, the big thing is I want to get my Shroud on this Kai'Sa. I want to delay 2-star Kai'Sa getting her ultimate off. So we're going to be able to get that off. I also shift the Darius next to Tahm Kench because I want Tahm Kench to eat Darius, not Morgana. Morgana is a much more valuable unit. So Braum gets off a great ult. Tahm Kench goes ahead and eats the goes ahead and eats the Darius, who I don't care about. And look at how close this fight is. We were able to delay that first cast on Kaisa. We're able to get the Morello's burn on here. But oh, this fight is so close. Come on, Jin. One more shot. Woo! There we go. One more shot on the mutant player. So I'm going to win another round. And now we can't do worse than third place. All right, can't do worse than third place. So it is 60 gold to level. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, level to 9. And I'm going to toss in the Jace. All right, so now we've got Jace. Now, here's the bad news. I'm guaranteed to be up against the VIP Talon, which I believe is my worst matchup. So I was like, all right, okay. We know we're going to hit this player. Time to reverse the formation. We need to put all of our tank units up on the front line. We need to put all our carry units in the back lines. So this is how you play against assassins if you know you're going to hit assassins. But here's the bad news. I forget to reverse over to left-hand side. I make one mistake. I really need to have Jin on the left-hand side, so he's away from the Talon. And unfortunately, this is going to end up costing me. Jin is actually shooting at Talon, but oh, he's going to get tagged and he falls, and oh... looks like it's not quite going to be enough. I mean, you can see how close this is. Morgana's going to take out most of the enemy team, and I take exactly 14 damage. If I killed one more unit, I survived the round. So, so close. I just needed to position Jin on the left-hand side. I actually think I win that round if Jin is on left-hand side. Maybe the fight RNG goes differently, but if he was on the other side, he would have been shooting at Talon. And VIP Talon is not particularly tanky. That unit does die quickly if it gets focused. So I just needed to be on left-hand side against those assassins. I'm pretty sure I would have killed the assassins and won the round. And maybe we could have kept this tightrope dance going a little bit longer. But I can't complain. This was a fantastic game. I was overjoyed to get third place out of the mess that I had. This was a game where I just did not hit at all. I found one Ashe the entire game while playing Syndicates with AD items. I think I only saw like one Ari the whole game too, not that I had Ari items. So to get a third place out of that with all of the trouble I had throughout the game, that is a very good result. All right, so now it's between the mutant player with the 2-star Kaisa and the VIP player. So if the VIP player wins, that's the end of the game. And if the Kaisa player wins, they're going to have to win a few more rounds. But it turns out that the VIP Talon is not actually matching up very well at all against this mutant player. In fact, they are going to see every single unit other than the Talon get killed, and then Tom Kent is going to be eating that unit, and then guess what? They're just going to quit the game. So yeah, that was a win for the Kaisa player. Even though the Kaisa player was on 12 HP, I would have, run another round and tried to win, but I guess they just got bored and decided to quit the game because it was a normal game. But oh well. So I'll take my third place finish. And hey, I actually beat every single comp except the VIP Talon, and I think if I had just gotten the positioning right, I would have beaten that one too. So hey, I think I'll take it. That's a pretty good game. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this look at trying to salvage a bad game. Until next time, hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you again soon.